Morning. How's everybody? We are back with a report of the US markets, the US dollar, Bitcoin, oil, and gold. So the markets ended the week on a weaker note. They ended the week in the red, um, but on the whole, it was a positive end to the markets on a Friday. The markets were spurred on by the comments from one of the governors of the Federal Reserve, who said that there is a possibility of a rate cut in December, and that swung the markets up. That associated with the fact that there was news that the Trump administration is considering allowing Nvidia to sell some of its chips in China as well. So both these things spurred the markets higher, and the markets ended on a positive note. Um, it's a bit unclear what the situation is going to be in the 9th 10th December FOMC meeting, because the Fed is so data dependent, and the data is obviously quite lacking at this point in time because of that prolonged shutdown. We're not going to get any more payroll numbers until the next meeting now, and the Fed itself doesn't seem to have a vision with regards to whether it's going to go for a rate cut or not. So it really depends on the bias of the individual Fed governors, as to what they're thinking when it comes down to a rate cut decision in December, and that is what's causing so much fluctuation in the markets. I mean, just imagine that in the last 1 week, the probability of a rate cut in December has gone all the way up from 98% down to 30% to 70% yesterday. That's all happened in the course of the last 1 week. And that is what's causing so much fluctuation in the markets as well. And even if you do get a rate cut in December, it is going to be somewhat messy. So that is what's causing so much fluctuation in the markets, and the markets are swinging up and down on that. My feeling is that there will be a rate cut in December, and next week will bring some clarity to this. Unfortunately, next week is the last week before the Fed go into a quiet period, because for the 1st of December, the Fed governors will not be talking about their intentions. They'll go into a quiet period. So we have only next week. But I think next week we will get clarity on the rate cut. And I think the markets are anticipating that there will be a rate cut in December. And I feel that that is the case. I think that will happen. So I would expect the markets to move upwards. And with the markets, Bitcoin will probably climb as well. Bitcoin has had a very bad few weeks. It's dropped from 126 down to 84,000 where it closed yesterday. At one point, it was at around 80,000, climbed up after the comment from the federal governors, the Federal Reserve governors. Um, Similarly, oil prices have come down because of the peace talks that seem to be taking place between Russia, Ukraine, and the United States, and that seems to be bringing the oil prices of oil down. Gold, which is the safe haven asset, really never became a safe haven asset this time, even though markets were really volatile. And gold prices have not really gone above 4,100, they've been between 4,000 and 4,100. The US dollar is climbing every now and then. Whenever there is a possibility that there is no rate cut, the US dollar climbs. But whenever we talk about a possibility of a rate cut, the US dollar weakens. So it, again, like the markets, that is also moving up and down quite often. So on the whole, I think next week the markets will climb. I think Bitcoin will rally. I think the US dollar will come down as the prospect of a rate cut becomes clearer. Gold prices, I think, will come down, and oil prices will also drop as the peace deal between Russia and Ukraine becomes clearer. So I think that is what's going to happen next week, but we'll talk more about that in our forecast shortly. Stay tuned, and we'll keep you posted.